Kristi Noem is back in headlines again. But this time, the public focus is not on policy or a cabinet shakeup. On March 31, 2006, a representative said the former Homeland Security Secretary was devastated after a new report about her husband, Bryon Noem, and described the family as caught off guard by what surfaced. If you follow fast-moving celebrity and public figure stories, subscribe, like, and share to support Starline Daily for more verified updates and trending entertainment news. On March 31st, Kristi Noem was back in headlines after a newly published report alleged that Bryon had participated in online fetish forums, shared images of himself in costume, and sent money to adult performers in that online space. That report moved quickly across national coverage within hours, but one point matters right away. Those are reported allegations, not facts established through any public filing reviewed for this video. This has not been publicly confirmed. The clearest confirmed development is the family response. A representative said Noem was devastated, that the family had been blindsided, and that they were asking for privacy and prayers. As of the latest available information, Bryon Noem had not issued a public statement responding to the allegations, and there was no public explanation from Kristi Noem beyond that representative's message. That leaves the public with a very narrow set of confirmed facts and a much larger set of unanswered questions. Why this story accelerated so fast is also important. It did not arrive in a quiet moment. It landed just days after Noem's turbulent exit from the Department of Homeland Security, where she had already faced intense scrutiny over her leadership, public criticism, and questions about her relationship with advisor Corey Lewandowski. In recent hearings, she rejected those claims and pushed back on that line of questioning. So by the time this family story broke, Noem was already under a bright public spotlight. That timing also explains why so many people immediately saw the report as bigger than a private marriage story. Noem had just been removed from one of the most visible jobs in Washington and shifted into a new diplomatic role connected to the Shield of the Americas initiative. So when the report about Bryon appeared, it instantly collided with an existing narrative about political fallout, public image, and what comes next for her career. There is also a long public history behind why the story drew attention, beyond one day's headlines. Kristi and Bryon Noem have been married since 1992, have 3 adult children, and for years projected a durable family image alongside her rise from South Dakota politics to national office. Bryon has often been described publicly as a steady presence around her political career. That background does not prove or disprove anything in the new report, but it does explain why the reaction was immediate and why the representative's statement centered on shock inside the family. What has not been publicly confirmed is just as important as what has. There is no public evidence reviewed for this video showing what Kristi Noem knew, when she knew it, or whether the marriage itself is changing. There is also no official filing, court action, or government statement tied to the allegations described in the report. In other words, the public record here is still very limited, even though the online conversation moved much faster than the facts. That is where stories like this often become messy. Once a personal allegation breaks around a nationally known figure, public reaction can rush ahead of verification. But the strongest documentary approach is to separate the confirmed timeline from the speculation. The confirmed timeline is straightforward. A new report was published on March 31st. A representative said the family was blindsided and asked for privacy. And the story emerged only days after Noem's removal from DHS and reassignment to a smaller but still public role. Everything beyond that needs to be handled carefully. There is also a wider question viewers are already asking, and it is a fair one. Will either Kristi or Bryon address this directly? For now, there is no public answer. Noem's recent public messaging had focused on her departure from DHS and the work she said she would continue in her new envoy role. This new development shifts attention away from policy and back onto her private life. But whether she chooses to respond in more detail remains unknown. As of now, the clearest public update is that Kristi Noem's camp says the family was blindsided and is asking for privacy after a report about Bryon Noem triggered a new round of headlines. The larger allegations remain unconfirmed in any official forum reviewed for this video, and Bryon had not publicly responded by the latest available coverage. That is why the real story, at least for now, is not what social media wants to assume, but what has actually been confirmed, what remains unresolved, and whether either side says more next. Thanks for watching, and thank you for your support of Starline Daily.